So, day 2 of Warhammer 40k spoiler season is wrapping up, and my goodness, if you haven't seen my episode on Gargos and Starn, make sure you check that one out because this commander is so brutal. But don't leave just yet, because on this episode, finally, this is perfect. And to find out what I mean by that, well, blame Eddie in the comments below, and then let's jump into it. So first up, when I first saw this card, and as a reminder, I am not a Warhammer 40k player, Nexos, that does sound like a legendary creature name, right? Kind of like Nihilor, whatever that one is from D&D. Regardless, one name, you'd think it would be a legendary creature. It is not. So Warhammer 40k fans in the comments below, please let me know why. I mean, is this just, are Nexoses just something in the Warhammer universe? They must be, right? Anyways, I'm rambling aside. This card is perfect for a different reason other than its name. And it's a 2/2 human Tyranid Advisor that costs 1 and a green, and it says Strategic Coordinator. Basic lands you control have tap, add, colorless. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X. So this is a weird kind of a mana doubler in a way, a very specific kind that, okay, it just applies to your basic lands, and it doesn't, double up the amount of mana that they're tapping for. I mean, unless, obviously that's a waste, which, usually it's not going to be. But, if you've got a forest, instead of it tapping for, green, like, most doublers would do, it says, no, instead you can just tap it for colorless. But, unlike other mana doublers, this one is very specific on what you can actually spend that mana on, because you can only spend that mana on actually costs that contain X. Now, keep in mind that not only includes spells, but also activated abilities as well, the way that is worded. As long as they contain X, you can utilize that mana. So again, this is kind of like a mana doubler, but with, basically 2 requirements on, what actually can get that doubling and what you can use that doubling mana for. That being said, and I do say this quite a bit, especially when playing, Commander games, play more basic lands. Basic lands are very effective in Commander, even in 5-color decks. Yes, if you work on actually, ensuring that you've got the right setup and the right ways to ramp and fix your mana, you are going to be fine with a lot of basics. In fact, I have plenty of 5-color decks with a ton of basics in them, and one that this is going to be absolutely perfect for. And yeah, I am very excited about this one, and really hoping this is going to be a budget-friendly card, or at least when it comes to my budget, less than $1 is what I would like this to be. Please and thank you, Nexos. But of course, outside of that one commander, there are plenty of other commanders that really are going to want to take a good look at this card, and this can have a massive impact in their decks when it's in play. But of course, first I'm going to talk about the one that I'm most excited about, my commander. And that would be my new Jodah deck, which has quickly become one of my favorite decks to pull out and play. Jodah Archmage Eternal. This is actually a Villainous Wealth deck, which might seem kind of counterintuitive because Villainous Wealth, Jodah doesn't really help you cast that. But yeah, let's just really quick just talk about what this deck does in case you haven't seen the episode on it. Anyways, Jodah Archmage Eternal is a 5-color commander, a fantastic one at that. You may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells you cast. So essentially, yeah, you can cast big spells for less as long as you're paying, completely fixed all 5 colors, so instead of paying, 7 mana for a spell, you can pay 5. So you can cast bigger spells quicker, and yeah, basically all this deck wants to do is just cast a ton of spells to ramp very, very quickly. And yeah, some of those spells are pretty massive, so you can ramp really quickly. And essentially the goal is for you to set yourself up so that you can cast Villainous Wealth with a lot of mana into that X mana value. Villainous Wealth is a sorcery for X, black, green, blue. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of the library. You may cast any number of spells converted mana cost X less among them without paying their mana cost. So basically, cast a ton of things off the top of someone's library for free. And you know what? What's more fun than that? Doing that again. Either to that same player or to someone else, copying, that spell with something like Increasing Vengeance, copy target instant sorcery spell, and also if this spell is cast from your graveyard, you copy it twice instead, so yeah, you can flash it back. So basically, the entire goal of the deck is just ramp a ton, cast Villainous Wealth for as much as we can, and copy it as many times as we can for a ton of value off the top of, well, either one opponent's library or, multiple opponents' libraries. And then, of course, beat other players with their own cards, and what's not to love about that? And speaking of that, yeah, Nexos really fits into this strategy. Again, as I said, it might surprise some players, but yes, even in a 5-color deck, you can run a ton of basic lands. And in fact, with this Joda build, I have to run a ton of basic lands because I'm running a ton of ramp spells that only go get basics, and I don't want to run out of basics. So with all my basic lands now being able to tap for colorless, when I do eventually get to the point where I'm casting Villainous Wealth, I can just drop this Nexos down, tap for a ton of mana, cast Villainous Wealth for an absurd amount, and yeah, have a lot of fun from there. So yeah, Nexos, please be budget friendly. Please be less than $1 when the dust settles, because I would love to add you to my Joda Villainous Wealth deck. But of course, like I mentioned, my Joda Villainous Wealth deck is not the only commander out there that will want to take a look at this card. I mean, if you've got a Hydra tribal deck like, Gargos Vicious Watcher, I can guarantee you are taking a look at this card. Okay, I can't guarantee, I guess, but there's a very high likelihood that you are. Gargos Vicious Watcher is an 8/7 Vigilant Hydra that says Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast, and on top of that, whenever a creature control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos fights up to one target creature you don't control. So yeah, Gargos gives you a massive discount on your Hydras. Again, 4 mana is a ton, and of course there are plenty of Hydras out there that have an X in their mana cost, so yeah, this is basically a free extra 4 mana for those Hydras. And now again with Nexos, awesome. Now all of your basic lands, which of course you're in a mono green deck, you're gonna have a ton of basics. You can just utilize those as 2 mana apiece for your Hydras. So let's just say, okay, you get Gargos out next turn, you get another land out, you have 7 lands in play. Okay, let's just say, for argument's sake, they're all forests, okay? You've got an X mana Hydra, maybe a Genesis Hydra in your hand that you want to cast, which costs, X green. Cool. It's going to cost 4 less to cast, so we get an extra basically 4 into that X. Great. And then on top of that, let's just tap all of our lands for, 2 green pips, and then the other 5 will be tapping for colorless for that X value, so that's an extra 10 mana into that X. So again, for tapping 7 lands and having this as our commander, we are putting 14 mana into that X, which of course is a ton, again, for just 7 lands. So yeah, I can definitely see Gargos decks chomping at the bit for this Nexos card. Next up, how about yet another Hydra commander? Well, it can definitely be built in that way. Zexar the Exemplary. Death Touch. Tap, add 2 mana of any one color. Whenever you cast a spell with X and its mana cost, create a 0/0 green Hydra creature token, then put X +1 counters on it. So yeah, Zexar is all about X spells, so as long as you've got enough basics in the deck, yeah, Nexos can definitely help you out, doubling up all of those basics, allowing you to put even more mana into those lovely X spells that you love so much. And then because, you put a ton of mana into those X spells, you also get even more massive Hydra creature tokens. So yeah, Zexara is definitely going to be considering this one as well. Moving on though, how about a 2-color commander? And yeah, Roshin Meanderer is definitely going to be taking a look at this one. Tap, add colorless, or in other words, 4 mana essentially to your mana pool. Spend this mana land cost that contain X. So yeah, again, you're going to have a ton of X spells in a deck built around Roshin, because Roshin can only help you cast X spells. So yeah, also in a 2-color deck, you're probably bound to have a ton of basics as well. So you can just dump a lot of mana into those X spells on top of, what Roshin gives you. You get a lot of extra mana thanks to Nexos. So definitely a card to be considered here as well. Next up, maybe you've got an Erixmathes deck like Eddie's, where you actually have a good amount of, basics, and you also have a good amount of X spells in the deck, and you really want to make a big impact with those massive X spells. Erixmathes is, a 12/12 Kraken that doesn't start off as an actual creature. It enters the battlefield, tap with 5 slumber counters on it. As long as it's got a slumber counter on it, it's a land, not a creature. Whenever you cast a spell, you can move a counter from it, and you can use it to tap and add green-blue. So basically, this is just an always, 4 mana ramp spell for you. It basically, starts off as a land that can tap for 2, which is pretty cool. You have a land in your command zone, basically. So yeah, that can really help you ramp quickly and easily. If you ever want to change it to a creature, you can. It's quite big and threatening. But yeah, if not, utilize this for mana, utilize your basics for a ton of mana thanks to Nexos, and cast some massive X spells. Next up, how about a commander that is all about mana with Raga Draga, Gorgut's Boss, a 4/4 human board that says, each creature you control with main mana ability gets +2/+2. Whenever a creature controlling main ability attacks, untap it. Whenever you cast a spell, if at least 7 mana is spent to cast it, untap target creature, gets +7/+7 against trample until end of turn. So, a Gorgut's deck can definitely go in the direction of, having a ton of mana dorks, and also having, a lot of X spells, because those X spells, again, are flexible enough that you can get to that, 7 mana requirement for you to get that trigger off of Gorguts to pump something a ton and give it trample. And yeah, again, in a 2-color deck, many players out there are probably going to have plenty of basics in their Raga Draga deck, so yeah, Nexos can fit right in. It might not be a mana dork itself, but it can provide you a ton of mana advantage thanks to its ability. Moving on though, how about a commander that itself has an X in its mana cost like Rocco Cabaretti Caterer? Rocco costs X red, green, white whenever it enters the battlefield. If you cast it, you may search for life for a creature card with mana value X or less put on the battlefield, then shuffle. So essentially, you are guaranteed to have, essentially a dump for all of the mana that you want to put into that X, right? You've got a place for it. And of course, a Rocco deck can have some pretty massive creatures that you want to go get quite quickly, and of course, Nexos can really help you go get those. And actually, Rocco itself, obviously, can help you go get Nexos too to help set yourself up for a later turn. And there are plenty of ways to bounce Rocco back to your hand so that you can actually just, keep casting it and getting more and more creatures out. So yeah, a commander that can actually tutor this awesome card out to then be, utilized so that you can get even more mana into that X. Yeah, Rocco can definitely utilize this card in the right build. I mean, finally, yeah, I should probably just mention, hey, if you have a commander that has an X in its cost and has, green in its color identity, yeah, like old Stick Fingers, cool. Yeah, I mean, it could definitely utilize Nexos as well. Or at least I should say, again, the right build, because some old Stick Finger builds are very specific and only want like 2 or 3 creatures in them, so yeah, I mean, depends on the build. Nevertheless, Stick Fingers costs X black green and says, when you cast spell reveal cards to the top of your library to reveal X creature cards. Put all creature cards revealed this way in your graveyard, then put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order, and old Stick Fingers pound Duffus are each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. I mean, if you get Nexos out early enough, you can drop a lot of mana into old Stick Fingers very quickly and fill your graveyard with a ton of creatures that you're going to want in there. So yeah, again, depending on the build, yeah, probably not, that combo build that might utilize, 2 or 3 creatures or whatnot. Yeah, there are definitely some old Stick Fingers decks out there that might want to consider this creature. But now this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on Nexos. Again, as a player who has a Joda Villainous Wealth deck with a ton of basics in it, and all I'm looking to do is just, ramp a ton, get a lot of basics out, and cast Villainous Wealth for as much as I can, while also, copying it a couple of times. Yeah, I'm really excited about this card, and I really hope, please, that it is less than $1. Please, universe, make it happen. But regardless, yes, I'm very excited about this, obviously, and I'm sure many players out there like you might be excited as well. Make sure you're also checking out my other exciting episodes on other quick takes and spoilers, and of course there'll be more coming up. Probably not today, but tomorrow there'll be more tomorrow. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.